Geert van Zyl. He's from Knife Capital. He's been in the private equity business for many, many years. And if there's anyone who can identify key trends, he's the man. They've been involved in many, many businesses. He's been involved in many mentorships. So Geert, over to you.
Good, thanks for that. Yeah, I'm going to talk in general more broadly about our Knife Capital venture capital journey at this alternative conference. So welcome, let's go. So Knife Capital, at the heart of it, we invest behind innovation-driven businesses that have some traction. So not necessarily seed investment, really innovation, technology to grow. We add knowledge, networks, and funding. Sometimes the networks and the knowledge are more important than the check one writes. And we really focus on exit-centric business building. What that basically means is we focus on business building first. That's what it's all about. I mean, building a company is as hard now as it's ever been. But we always focus on what is the partner universe, how do we exit these businesses. Liquidity in the venture capital market is obviously a concern. And yeah, that is what we live and breathe. We've got quite a robust established team that's been working together for 13 years, and some of us have known each other for longer. Eben and I met each other at Mark Shuttleworth's Here Be Dragons fund, where we worked for a number of years and then spun out essentially Knife Capital out of HBD, where we continued to manage actively manage the Mark's portfolio in the VC side in South Africa. Andrea joined us shortly after when we joined Knife. Bob Skinstad out of the UK is helping us expand a little bit more internationally. And Davey out of Jersey is helping with the fund administration. So those are the 5 partners, and having fun, working hard, making money. So just in terms of what is going on in Knife Capital, at the heart of it, or at the birth of it, was Here Be Dragons Fund. We were the investment managers there, and then approached Mark and with the concept of not only being a captive fund from a family office, so-called, but really branching out towards other funds. We managed the HBD fund out, successfully exited it, quite a high IRR and successful exits, which we'll touch on. We also started KNF Ventures, Knowledge Networks Funding, which is a SARS Section 12J business. We're actually in our second fund there. First one we closed off at 250 million rand, and we're trying to duplicate that. We got a strategic investment from a family office via the UK to really branch out more into private equity things. And that really helps us with team dynamics, access to more skill set, and to really have a global view and a soft landing for our businesses that need to expand. We also then really looked at the value chain and thought, well, you can't just be a venture capitalist in South Africa with ignoring the seed stage investments or the earlier stage entrepreneurs that maybe don't need as much capital, but more mentorship capital and assistance. So we launched in 2013, Grindstone Accelerator. We used to take 10 companies a year. We now take 20 companies a year, and we're in our 7th cohort of very successful businesses that gone through the full cycle. Some of them exited, some of them we invested in, some of them are now our angel investors that invest in us. So the VC cycle is working. We also realized that at some point our ecosystem in the venture capital space in South Africa don't actually support our breakout entrepreneurs. We support them to a point, and then when they really hit that scalable, repeatable business model, it's almost like, well, guys, go raise the money in Silicon Valley or Europe because the risk capital at the later stages are not available. So we have launched, and we're raising a expansion fund, more Series B funding, and that's a $50 million fund out of South Africa as well as Jersey to help the international LPs. So we have a unique approach to the whole venture capital investment cycle, where we're really focusing on finding good investments, but also finding good investors. There needs to really be a good fit for us all. This is a long journey, and you really need to do it with like-minded individuals with a vested interest in entrepreneurship in South Africa. Then we focus on making the deal happen, favorable terms for both parties. It is a partnership with the entrepreneurs, but it is capital at the end of the day, which need to go back to our investors. We focus on the due diligence more as a gap analysis, and then we have a milestone-based investment approach where we grow those businesses through the milestones that we identified in terms of the strategy gaps or execution gaps that we need. Ultimately, to realize a return. We need to really understand from the beginning who's the partner universe, who can buy this business, or is it a sale back to management, or how it's going to happen. So, our unique approach really has these building blocks embedded through. So curating our own deal flow, becoming relevant in the startup ecosystem in South Africa, and really, curating that success story. So Grindstone, we look at businesses under $1 million of funding. Really look at that where we focused on the entrepreneurs and more the networks, knowledge, market access, help them to get clients, help them to become investable at our Series A level, which is our 12J KNF Ventures fund. So, a couple of examples of our investees coming through there. Raising the Fund 3, which is basically looking at larger ticket sizes, where we might invest. It's a $20 million deal or a $30 million deal where we can participate with $5 or $10 million, and hopefully create those partnerships for when these businesses now really succeed and need the international funding. So we co-invest with international VCs. So the investment criteria, what we look at, obviously scalable business model, repeatable business model, entrepreneurs who can execute, large addressable market, and really focusing on that as the investment thesis. But more important for us is the culture. At the end of the day, it is about the people. People invest in people. A entrepreneurial venture, specifically from Africa, is an arduous journey, and make sure that execution, traction, and chutzpah of the entrepreneurs all fit into our investment ethos. Our portfolio is always a combination of businesses that have successful brands, have some traction, and basically have a South African-based cost base, but have a international hard currency, recurring revenue client base, which we can sell into. So most of our growth capital go into marketing, intellectual property structuring, and really getting the biz dev kind of right, because most of the product development is usually done by the time we invest. So we've got a combination of fintech businesses. We actually have 2 businesses in the educational technology space that really, during COVID, did phenomenally well. So that is the beauty of a portfolio approach. We have AI for manufacturing. We have some businesses in the pharmaceutical side of things, marketing analytics, software as a service in terms of warehouse management software. So it is really a bunch of entrepreneurs to be proud of. Also just recently invested in the marketing analytics, and also starting to branch out. We did the transaction as well as ProGlove. The one is in Silicon Valley with some really investors that we can help with that network again. Other one in Germany, again, cross-pollinating throughout our portfolio and really trying to create this soft landing for our businesses to really scale and grow outside of South Africa. So we also had some real successful exits. It is for us all about getting that money out with the investee companies and getting that money back. So, we've exited really amazing technology companies from South Africa to General Electric. The Visa exit was $110 million. Fundamo, which is involved in mobile financial services. AuditTalk was a company that we invested in out of Cape Town that did online restaurant food ordering. Uber Eats bought that business for their technology that's more the point of sale integration to scale that business. Ikubu to Garmin. Garmin then set up a R&D office in Stellenbosch, and the entrepreneurs are running that. But also, it's not just about pumping the businesses up for a trade sale to a strategic partner. You definitely do get some interesting multiple jumps there. But also, FlightScope is a micro Doppler radar technology company that involved in golf. We eventually set up shop in Florida, and the entrepreneurs approached us and said, listen, we actually want to go for a second wave of growth, and can we buy the VC out? So we had some successful times money businesses that actually are just management buyouts. So what are we currently raising? It is gearing up to be 12J season with Jan-Feb next year coming, and that's a key cutoff. Who knows what's happening in June in terms of extending the life cycle of 12J funds, but yeah, so we our KNF Ventures 2, just to kick off where, or take it further, where our KNF 1 fund is fully vested, and really investing in innovation-driven companies, proven traction, Series A type stuff, and scale them. So that's the 12J stuff. And then Knife Fund 3 is an expansion fund, African Series B, which is a fund which we actually really start backing our technologists, co-investing with international VCs to really take these businesses to that next level on a global stage where you really need some proper dollars to scale. To facilitate the structure, we set up a LP structure in Jersey as well as South Africa. So we've got some local LPs that's already committed, which can invest in the rand-based. International LPs and DFIs can invest via the offshore structure, and these two structures co-invest into the businesses. So yeah, it's been a fantastic venture capital journey so far of 13 odd years. Team that's stuck together, many success stories, a few failures as well, and many battle scars, but we feel that we are ready for Knife 2.0, and the last 10 years of building this business has really teed us up well. And in the meantime, the ecosystem, the entrepreneurs, it's much more robust now than it's ever been. So we've got full confidence that this is going to be an interesting next 10 years. And yeah, looking forward to some questions, and thanks for your interest in alternative assets. It suddenly doesn't look so risky post-COVID when people have invested in technology businesses all along, and now the digital disruption is a little bit accelerated with the right type of flu shot up the arm.
Get really interesting. You've got some interesting people on your team. Bob Skinstad, Mark Shuttleworth. How involved is he still?
So Mark is quite involved in building open source software and those type of things out of the UK. More on the deal flow side, because ultimately he is still one of South Africa's big technology success stories. We definitely owe our careers to him to set up our funds, but it's more on the deal flow side. He actively invests outside of South Africa, not so much here.
One thing that actually struck me was you pick investments based on awesome people and the culture. How do you gauge that?
To be quite honest, you spend time in the saddle with the entrepreneurs. We are closing a transaction, and last night really went out for a bit of a big night with the entrepreneurs here in Joburg. Luckily, the pubs closed at 12, so we couldn't take it further and look fresh for this conference. But yeah, it is a lot of pattern recognition. It is a little. Remember, we always invest in businesses that have traction. We always invest in businesses that have clients already. So we phone the clients. Why did you use this product? Which other products did you consider? What would you do better if you were this entrepreneur? What are some of their weaknesses, strengths? So we do that. There are some personality profiling, but at the end of the day, there is also a good gut feel that we pick up in terms of how people negotiate, how they treat people in the office. And so we do spend time not behind our computers. We actually spend time in the company's offices, getting to know middle management. Yeah, and the due diligence period, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's interesting. We've seen a few venture capitalists and private equity firms present today. Some wear nice pinstripe suits and ties. You wear a jacket and a Knife t-shirt, which is very appropriate. And it shows you there are different cultures as well, which you need to take into account. Just lastly, you said you go out and look for clients. So I would imagine private equity in many ways would be answering phones, people approaching you for finance and investments. How do you go about finding those businesses?
So it is a combination. We do get about 500 business plans a year coming into our inbox. But usually the quality of 60-70% of those are not really VC fundable. It's just people desperate for money, because our SME ecosystem leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to supporting the entrepreneurs. But it is actually about the relevance out in the ecosystem. So we've done our 10,000 hours. We have helped people succeed. We co-invest with other funders. We have an investor base of about 150 investors in our 12J fund. And I mean, obviously, that is the perfect storm for vested interests. So a lot of our deal flow come through angel investors. And then we just stay relevant, get out there, get to know the entrepreneurs, and also help them on their journey. It's not always about a pitch for 10 million or 20 million rand. Sometimes when you see an entrepreneur, just help them. So we help as much as we can. And so there's hopefully lots of goodwill that comes back to us. Our accelerator model, our partnerships with the SASME fund there. We've got some small asset managers behind us. And I'm also on the board of SAFCA, the South African Venture Capital and Private Equity Association. And through that, the networks. It's all about the networks. You asked about Bob Skinstad. Yes, he played a bit of rugby way back when, but also just his personality and the kind of networks that he builds all over the world help us again to help our companies get clients. At the end of the day, the check is one thing, but we need to help our portfolio companies get clients. And yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, you call it goodwill. I would imagine it is tangible goodwill. Geert, thank you so much for your time. Geert van Zyl from Knife Capital.